Commentary at page 30. Sorry, thank you.
That's right. You ready to go?
Yes?
Yep. Well, I'd like to thank the councillors and the Mayor for the opportunity. I'm a landlord in Christchurch here, and I guess two of the concerns were, obviously the increasing rates and the fact that roads aren't being repaired. So I don't want to be too blunt, but I'm just going to start with an analogy. If we consider an individual who didn't earn enough money to pay their bills and then had potholes in their drive, and that individual presented to their bank manager a solution to liquidate their dividend-earning investments and then use that money to buy a Ferrari, your instant reaction would be, that's ridiculous. But that's exactly what's really being proposed here today. The stadium, the sports facilities, the libraries, they're all really the Ferraris, costing more to run than they ever produce. They're all nice to haves, but a Toyota Corolla would also get you from A to B. So do we need these projects on such a greater scale than before the quake? And the answer, I think, is no. As an example, just give the bus exchange, $53 million today. Before 2000, you just had signs on the side of the road, cost of thousands. Then you had a $10 million exchange that really became a hangout for teenagers. Now you've got a $53 million facility on 1.4 hectares that's designed to cater for 70,000 users. And one of the interesting things is that if it is 70,000 users by 2041, that single-storey exchange is going to be likely to be wanted for development because the land will be so valuable, that 1.4 hectares it's sitting on. And if there aren't 70,000 users a day, then you didn't need such a big scheme. So either way, it's not really a long-term project. You didn't need to spend that much money for that solution. And it's the same way on these other facilities as well. Instead of building a whole pool complex, why not just build part of the pool complex, start with one pool? If the insurer can fix Lancaster Park, why not fix it? There's already over $100 million in savings. Why build a 1 hectare floor area library on land that costs $6,000 to $7,000 a square metre, which is $27 million just for the land, when 150 metres away in the East Frame, the Crown was acquiring the land for under $1,000 a square metre? That means you could get a 4,000 square metre single-storey library, including land, for perhaps $15 million, another $60 million saving. Why not stage the building of the library over the next 10 or 20 years? So I'm being blunt there with that, but I'm just trying to say that these facilities, it's much more than we need right now in the immediate term. If asset sales are required, why are you selling the port, the airport, which produce good dividends, when you're keeping 2,100 housing units that are perhaps worth $420 million and losing, essentially, well, if you include depreciation, losing money, but even if you don't include depreciation, I think that $400 million earns about $1 million profit with rents less the operating expenses. If you change to market rents, you could double the income. That would be over $15 million, initially more, which would actually cut rates by 5% just by putting those housing units to market rents. The government provides subsidies. That's their role. The accommodation supplement would cover those amounts. The other option is to sell off a number of those flats to pay off debt, or to avoid selling other assets that produce dividends. Essentially, at the moment, for every 50 households in Christchurch, one is subsidising a council-owned flat, which to me doesn't sound particularly fair on ratepayers.
Sorry, and I will give you extra time.
Yeah, I know.
Ratepayers do not subsidise social housing. There's no rates that goes into social housing.
No, the rates don't, but there's a $400 million asset that's not returning any income. No, not from rates. So I'm saying that's a council asset. So I know there's the social aspect of that, but in saying that, it's also a role for central government. And when you can't afford something, there has to be some compromises somewhere. The third point that I made in my submission there was relating to development contributions, and that the development contributions at the very low end of housing are incredibly high. You get $21 million from development contributions, which average $30,000 per unit. That's only 700 units. Obviously, there are far more sections than that developed. The development contributions large subdivisions pay are very small, yet individual subdivisions pay very considerable amounts, which means there's actually, since that policy was introduced in about 2007, you haven't had a supply of cheaper sections coming to the market, which has actually pushed more need for social housing, which, as I outlined earlier, costs more money for the council to provide. If there was at the lower end, cheaper development contributions for cheaper houses, you would then get the rates coming in from those properties. So if it was, say, $15,000 instead of $30,000 for on a $90,000 or $100,000 section at the very bottom end, a subdivided backyard, if it was $15,000 instead of $30,000, then you're getting an extra $1,500 of rates revenue a year. It's paying for itself by encouraging that development. So there is an advantage in actually having lower development contributions to allow those developments to happen, because $30,000 development contribution on a $90,000 section, those developments just don't happen. So overall, my point of the submission, I was just being very brief to make sure the council wants to focus on repairing the roads, and which the actual things we pay rates for, and not buying Ferraris. That's the big facilities, the huge sports stadiums, even the swimming pools, the libraries. They're all facilities that everyone wants to use and everyone wants, but do we all need them right away in the next 5 years? Think about staging them, smaller amounts spent now, or just delaying them into the future. We've survived for 5 years without those facilities. Delaying them or staging them is not going to be a huge impediment to the progress of Christchurch, and I think the kinds of rates increases that are being proposed over the longer term, and the sale of assets that produce income, which is actually going to cause more rates increases, is going to be more negative than a delay in those facilities being built.
Thank you, Christian. I mean, it's always hard being the second to last one on a Friday night, but everyone's been listening to your submission, as you've heard, and that you can understand that we've got major challenges, and
yes,
we're going to have
I know
to
that. I'm just suggesting that maybe some of those big ticket items can be delayed or renegotiated, or just to avoid those big rates increases.
No, I mean, we're going to do everything that we can to do that. So thank you very much.
That's right. Okay.
Thank you. And Mr. Telfer, do you want to come forward now? Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, feeling. I dropped the 89.
Okay.
Last time I was sick, I was in court actually,
Yeah?
and I had a
Well,
heart
this
attack.
is nowhere near like court. We're not going to cross-examine you at all.
I was glad it was all over actually. It started.
Yeah, but I might rule on the relevance of your evidence. So if you would like to focus very much on